Welcome to the Real World. My name is Cameron. This is the Real World Podcast. If you are a fan of movies, this is the podcast for you. We talk all about all kinds of different movies, new movies, old movies, streaming, in theaters. I got a huge physical media collection behind me. We delve into that. Today on the podcast, we're talking all about the best time travel movies. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Real World Podcast. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos. We are huge movie fans here. So if you are a movie fan, you have found the right podcast. Today on the podcast, we're talking all about time travel movies. And this is going to be a fun one. It's a long time coming. My co-host Bert is with me. How you doing, man?
Hey, Cam, I'm doing great. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I know this is a podcast that you've been anxiously awaiting as a
Yeah, I
big
love
time
this
travel movie.
genre.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. So me
yeah,
too. So there's a lot of movies to cover. We're going to do our draft as we have been doing lately. So
right.
I'm going to pick a movie and then Bert's going to pick a movie. We'll go back and forth. If I take the movie, he can't choose it. If he takes it before me, I can't take it. So we're kind of trying to create our own personal best time travel movie lists. So this is going to be a fun one. We want to know what your favorite time travel movies are. So leave a comment below. We love having conversations with you about these films. And so, yeah, if you're ready, we'll get started.
Let's do it.
All right, so kicking off the time travel movie podcast here, I guess we should maybe talk about, how we went about picking these movies. We did put some rules in place because there are a lot of time travel movies, and we went back and forth on whether or not to include time loop movies, and we decided not to. And I'm actually really thankful for that decision because there were a lot of movies that I had on my list, and that helped whittle it down a little bit. And I know you're a big
Yeah,
fan of time loop movies. And
yeah,
so maybe we'll do a time loop podcast in the future at some point. We don't have a time machine, so we don't know if we're going to do that or not, but that would be fun to do one day. So no time loop movies. One of the things I also thought long and hard about is time travel integral to the plot? There's some time
yeah.
travel elements in movies that aren't really like a real part of the movie. Like I was thinking, for example, in one of my favorite films, the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. At the end of that movie, he turns the Earth backwards and time reverses
Yeah,
and he's able to
yeah.
fix things. That's not really a big part of the plot. It's just kind of something that
Hmm.
happens at the end of the movie. So I did not include that. So I tried to really
Yeah,
hone in on the ones where time travel is the essential element of the story, basically. So those are kind of the criteria I put in place. Bert, are you much the same way, kind of the same mind on that?
yeah. Like Terminator, even though like in the first Terminator film, the entire film it only exists because of the time travel.
Right.
The time travel happens at the beginning and then it's basically
Yep.
never referenced again.
Good
It's
point.
not essential to the plot from that point going forward.
Yeah, and we did
Um,
just do a big Terminator
yeah,
podcast anyway. So yeah, we nixed all the Terminator movies. So if they're not here and you're wondering why, that's why. Go back and check out that podcast.
yeah. And I wanted to say, I don't know about you, but when I start a time travel film, I'm always thinking, okay, first of all, how, in this film, how are they going to do the time travel? Like
Hmm.
what is it they accidentally end up time traveling? Because we get those
Right.
films,
Sure.
or are they, super smart and they invent time
Right.
travel? There's so many different types like that.
Yep.
And then of course, the other thing is the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it one where they, get in a car? Or they, do
Right.
they even need to move? What's the
Right.
vehicle getting them there?
Uh-huh.
Does it happen in their mind? I mean, there's all different kinds. So,
Yes.
and we'll hit, I mean, there's so many different ones that we'll talk about that.
Yep.
I don't know if there aren't many that copy, like there's not a time travel film that is independent of Back to the Future that
Sure.
came out after that where they also use a car, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's probably smart. That's probably
It
smart,
is.
you know?
Yes, I agree. I agree. Yeah, those are all great points. Those are all points that I'm sure will come up many times in this as we discuss these movies. Yeah, the how, the why, who, all of it, the when. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. So
The
let's just
frequency.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, how often are they time traveling? Are they just doing it once? Are they doing it,
Yeah.
all throughout the movie? All great points. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, now that the stage is set, let's kick it off. You went first last time. I'm going first this time. I get the first draft pick of time travel films, and so this is one that for me, ever since I saw it, has been my favorite time travel movie, and it is Looper. from 2012.
Uh,
Looper is my favorite time travel movie of all time. This is written and directed by Rian Johnson. I'm a huge fan of his, huge fan of
yeah.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi and Knives Out and the brothers Bloom and Brick. All of his films, I really think they're all great. And so I'm a big fan of him as a writer and a director. He's really clever, and I think this is maybe his best movie. And I think it's
Mm.
also the best performance from both Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. They're both playing the same character, and of course, at two different points in his life. And it's such a great premise. This movie is basically about a hitman who works in we'll call it the present, which it's the future. It's set in like 2070 something, I think. And so in this future, um, there are these hitmen who work for the mob who basically are killing these guys that are sent back from the future. So there's an even in the distant future, um, time travel is invented, and crime organizations use it to basically kill people without getting caught, essentially. So they'll send the hit back in time. The hitman will kill him, and there's no evidence because in the future, the body there's no body. So it's a really interesting idea, and the way it's played is just great. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is so good in this, and Bruce Willis as the older version of the character who's sent back in time. For you to close your loop, you have to kill yourself. That's basically why it's called Looper. And
Yeah.
so you have to kill your older self, but there's a like ton of gold attached to the body, so you can kind of live it up for as long as you have. So that's kind of the idea here. Of course, Bruce Willis comes back and he ends up not killing his older self, and it creates all this big mess, and this whole insane thing starts unraveling. And Emily Blunt is in the film; she's fantastic as well. And I really, really like all the character dynamics are really interesting. It's cool to see an older version of a young and a younger version of the same character and how different they are. And you kind of get the story of why they're so different, how this kind of character went through this big change in his life, and so it's really fascinating. It's a great story. It's very emotional. It's action packed. It's got some great tech in it as well. Future tech is always fun to see. And the time travel is interesting because it's very different. It's kind of this big thing you just kind of crawl into, and then you just appear back,
Yeah.
whenever they send you back. And it's always a fixed point, but of course that point is always moving as the present day timeline moves forward. So it's an interesting, unique way of doing time travel too that I thought was really clever. So yeah, I've watched this so many times. I really enjoy it every time I watch it. So that's my number one pick, Looper from 2012.
Yeah, that one's definitely on my list. I
Is it
saw
okay?
I thought I'd seen it
Hmm.
one time way back, but
Hmm.
I didn't remember a lot of it, so
Oh,
maybe I hadn't.
okay.
But yeah, it was really good. I know you've talked about it
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
I'm at least at 4 stars on it, if not 4.5.
great.
It's so unique and
Yeah,
yeah, great performances. I like what Joseph Gordon-Levitt does to try to make himself look a little more like Willis.
yeah. The
And
makeup is great. Yeah,
yeah, some great
yeah.
stuff there. That's a really good pick.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, that's my number one. So that's off the board now. Bert, why don't you go ahead and give us your number one time travel movie?
For number one, I got to go Back to the Future.
Of course,
Of
yes.
course, yeah, top five film of all time,
Hmm.
and obviously the time travel is very much at the center of what's driving the plot, and
Right.
it's so much fun. It's just like a perfect balanced mix of drama, romance, comedy, intensity.
Yep.
It's got a little bit of everything for everybody, and
It
I
does.
just think that the plot is just genius.
Yeah.
It's so much fun what Marty McFly has to try to work through when he does go back in time,
Right.
and I just enjoy every minute of it. So I mean, I talk to death about it, but yeah, I love the DeLorean and stuff. I've
Oh yeah.
sat in a DeLorean.
Have
Have you
you
ever sat in a
really?
DeLorean?
No.
Yeah, my a relative of mine
Okay.
owns one actually, and so
Wow.
yeah, I don't know, it's a few years ago, but I went to his house and he had a DeLorean, and so I got to finally sit in one and have my picture taken. I'll
That
have
is
to
awesome.
post the picture of
Yeah,
that.
you should. Yeah, put it on the Facebook group or something because that would be really
Okay,
cool to see. Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen one driving down the road before. I think when we
Oh,
lived in
okay.
Texas, because I think DeLorean is manufactured in Texas or was. at one time
Mm,
at least. But yeah, I have seen one in person, but I've never
yeah.
had the opportunity to sit in one. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, great movie, classic, all-time classic. I mean, that's the go-to time travel movie, and for a good reason, because it's kind of just like a perfect movie in every way. It's written so well,
Yeah.
performances are great. Yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Good movie. All right, moving on to my number two pick. I'm gonna go with About Time.
Oh
About
yeah.
Time is one of my
Such a good one.
favorites. So good.
Yeah.
Richard Curtis directed this. It's got Donald Gleason and it's got Rachel McAdams, as well as Bill Nye, who I'm a big fan of as well. Great cast. It's such a unique idea. Again, the men in this family just happen to be able to time travel. That's kind of what's revealed to this younger character by his father. And you know, they use it for all kinds of different reasons. His father kind of gives him some great advice. He's like, "Look, don't use it to try to get rich and famous. That's not the way to use it." And you know, he used it to read a lot of books, so he's very knowledgeable. And this younger character uses it to improve his love life. That's kind of what he's going to use it for. And Rachel McAdams being the object of his affections. It's just a great story between the two of them, all the ups and downs of their life and how he uses it. You know, he can only go back in time and change things, so he can't go to the future or anything like that. And so
Yeah.
it's a good. I like when they put those kind of limitations on it. Kind of helps sometimes not get as crazy as it
Yeah.
could.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, this is one that my wife and I both greatly enjoy. We've watched this many times together and always have a lot of fun with it. It's very funny. It's got, you know, very dramatic moments in it as well. But just excellent performances. Very character driven type of film. It's not a big actiony kind of sci-fi movie. But it's really good. It's really good. It's a fun watch, a perfect kind of Valentine's Day film. So yeah, About Time had to make it. So it's my number two. Big fan.
It's not very far. Yes, not just a few more. I would have said that one too.
Oh,
So you
really?
stole that one from
Oh
me too.
man. Yeah, I had a feeling these are gonna overlap quite a bit. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see who gets
But
what.
yeah, by the way, if you
Hmm.
could travel in time, would you go back or would you go forward? Would you
Oh,
want to
that's
see the
so
future?
tough. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you got to
don't
pick one.
know. I don't
You got
know.
like an hour. Which
Right.
direction you going?
I think I'm going to the past. I think I want to
Yeah.
know some history. I want
And
to
are you
see
allowed to
some
change anything
events.
or
I don't want to change. I don't think I want to change anything.
you don't want to
No.
change anything?
No, I don't have a ton of regrets in life, fortunately.
Oh, I
I'm
mean,
blessed
like,
in
oh,
that
you're
way,
just talking
but
about in the last few years. You don't want to go
yeah.
way, way back.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I would no, I would probably go way back.
Oh, okay.
But I still don't think I would change anything.
Okay. It was
I
meant to
think
be.
that's meddling in things that you're not supposed to be meddling in. There's too many cautionary tales in these movies about people going back and trying to change
Yeah.
something, and then it creates a disaster in the future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the butterfly effect, right? That's that whole
Right.
concept. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna change anything. I just want to observe.
Yeah. Right.
How
Yeah. And
about
then in
you?
some of them, in some of the movies, you can interact with yourself and it's fine. In
Right.
other ones, you can't. And
Exactly. Do you have would you go to the
yeah,
future or
I
the
don't
past?
know. I I mean, I'd probably go to the past too. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly when and where, but
Yeah. I don't know either.
I think that's why I love watching movies that are, period pieces and
Me
things like
too.
that. I'd love to
Yeah.
maybe go back to like early 1900s or something like that
Yeah.
and just
Right.
do something. I don't know.
Just for a little while though, because they have no air
Yeah.
conditioning, they have no internet. It wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't want to lay there
Right.
forever, but to check it out would be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Have you
Um,
ever heard of a comedian called Nate
oh yeah,
Bargatze?
oh yeah, yeah, I know him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got that bit, and I'm not going to do the bit, but he's got that bit where he says if he could travel back in time, he doesn't think he would make any difference because he doesn't know anything about
No,
anything.
right? It wouldn't
Like we
matter.
needed, yeah,
Right.
like yeah, what's that cell phone? How do you make that? I have no idea.
I have no idea. Right.
I'm
Exactly. Yeah.
useless.
Yeah. Couldn't get rich, couldn't help anyone. Just
No, yeah, you're just stuck there. Yeah.
right. All right. We're on to your number two now. What do you have in your second place spot?
Okay, I'm going with a film called Project Almanac from
Mm,
2015, and
okay.
this is a real fun one. This is another one where the time traveler uses it to try to win a girl. Because
Right.
there's that we've seen that several times. This is
Sure.
one of those, just like About Time.
Yep.
And in Project Almanac, this younger guy discovers that his dad built a time machine And so he uses the time machine to go back in time over and over and over again. And so it's more of a serious kind of movie. It's not a there are some exactly like this that are more like comedies.
Yeah.
Uh, and this one's a lot more of a serious film,
Mhm.
but yeah, again, it's kind of also a cautionary tale. And a lot of these films, what you change, you fix that, but then it kicks off another problem, so then you got to change that. It's one of those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Right.
And so I just really enjoyed it. It's kind of an unknown cast,
Mm.
but it's a really well made film and just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one I need to rewatch. I've seen it once, only in theaters, when it first came
Oh,
out,
okay.
and so I really want to rewatch it. I didn't get to this week, but I know you're a big fan of it, so I definitely want to give it another shot. So, excellent, excellent. Okay, great pick. All right. Next up, I am going to go with Christopher Nolan film called Tenet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really like Tenet. It's one of my favorite films he's ever made. It's so
Yeah.
unique, even more perplexing than most of his movies, which is saying a lot because most of his movies are kind of like mind-blowing. Um,
Yeah.
this one it's one of his most recent films. It came out in 2020. John David Washington stars in it. It's got Robert Pattinson, Kenneth Branagh, Elizabeth Debicki, all really good in their roles. Michael Caine, of course, shows up as usual in a Nolan movie. And
Hmm.
this one's so different because it's basically about this group who have learned how to reverse the entropy of objects or people. And so you basically watch the movie once and then you watch the movie again, kind of from a different perspective, kind of like almost in reverse in a way. So it's a very unique movie. I don't know how he pulled it off. Or for some people, he didn't pull it off. Some people, I think, don't really get it still. And it did take me a couple watches. On first watch, I was just kind of dumbfounded by it. But as I've watched it several times since it came out. I like it more and more. I think it's really fascinating. It's kind of a little bit of a meta commentary on, I feel like, filmmaking in some ways, and how movies are kind of shot out of order and then they're kind of edited to
Mm,
make sense. And
yeah.
but it's very interesting. It's just a fascinating kind of world he's building. He was kind of doing this as like his James Bond. He's a big James Bond fan, and so it's kind of got like this espionage spy movie feel to it.
Yeah.
But it's just very heady and insane, kind of the way he executes all of it. So yeah, I like Tenet a lot, and I think it's worth a rewatch. It did get nominated. It won Best Visual Effects, which I think it certainly deserved, and then it got nominated for production design as well. So technically, it's quite an achievement, and it's one that I can't wait to watch again, really. So yeah, Tenet made my number three.
Yeah, and I didn't really get it. I'm one of those, and there's been other Nolan films that I knew it was very layered, but I
Mm,
thoroughly enjoyed the experience.
sure.
With this one, I was just kind of frustrated by it.
Right. I think a lot of people are in that boat. I think again though, if
Oh,
you
okay.
give it those
Yeah.
rewatches, it really does reward you. It really does. It's like, oh, you start to really put the pieces together. Like, oh, I see what he's trying to do here. Like,
Yeah.
it's very very strange movie. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But I need to do those rewatches, and I just haven't
Yep.
done that yet.
Yep. 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 All right, Bert. We're on to your third pick. What do you have there?
Okay, a film that is probably most certainly not on your list, and it's The Flash from
Oh,
2023.
Flash, of course. Yes, we've talked about the Flash many
Yeah,
times.
I like this film so much,
Yeah.
and so much more than almost everybody else on the planet, I think.
Sure.
Um, and the time travel part of it, I think is just depicted so interestingly. And
Mm,
first of all, there's a very emotional crux behind it.
yeah.
So I felt that it really worked.
Mhm.
And then but visually how they show the time travel with him
Mhm.
just running really fast and uh
There's kind of like these
what do
bubbles
you call the
around
thing
him, and
behind him?
yeah, there's kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
a
It's
time
it's
sphere or something. Forget what they call it.
yeah, yeah. They call it, I mean, they call it a chroma bowl.
Right, that's right. Yeah,
But I don't know why.
right.
And but just visually, I just was just blown away, even just by the time travel itself.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if any other movie beats it visually because it's just so fascinating and clearly a lot of work was put into, unless they created it with AI. Clearly a lot of work was put into how they were going to depict that.
Right.
And you know the rest of the movie is in my opinion really good too, but I just think I really enjoy how they show the time travel and the fact that there's so much emotion behind it that it just seems very purposeful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely an interesting way to depict it. I prefer a couple things. One, how his speed was depicted in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think was a little more interesting. They were doing a different thing though. But I also
Yeah.
like there's a movie called The Flashpoint Paradox. It's an animated DC movie that I think
Oh, okay.
handles the story a lot better.
Oh yeah.
So for me, that's why The Flash maybe isn't quite as high as it is for some others.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's your number three, right? Okay, so now I'm on to my number four, and that is going to be another romantic film called Somewhere in Time.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
really like this movie. It was made in 1980, stars Christopher Reeve, stars Jane Seymour, and Christopher Plummer is in it as well.
Oh, like
Um,
him. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, great actor. So it's a really good cast, and Reeve is really going all in. He's got some really interesting things he has to kind of play and kind of make you believe, and he really does it quite convincingly. Um, it's this kind of beautiful romantic film set, in 1980 or 1979. Christopher Reeve is a playwright. He's visited by this elderly woman after one of his plays, and he kind of doesn't know who she is, and she kind of gives him this warning and gives him this watch, and he doesn't really know it, and she
Oh,
kind of disappears. And so he's kind of haunted by this for several years, doesn't know why, and he eventually kind of tracks down kind of who she might have been. And this time travel is different because he finds out that she was alive back in 1912, is kind of when she was at the peak. She was an actress, and so he
hmm.
kind of becomes obsessed with her, and he goes to this professor who he had at his college, and his professor has this whole theory on, well, you can hypnotize yourself into thinking you're back in time, basically. And so that's kind of what he tries to do,
Oh,
and
okay.
ends up actually going back in time. And so
Hmm.
it's really interesting. It's again, it's very different the way they kind of do that whole time travel thing. And then what he's doing in the past, is that affecting things? Is it not? And so it's really a great movie. I think it's highly underrated. Most people haven't even seen it or heard of it. But there is a big cult following. There's actually a group called the International Network of Somewhere in Time Enthusiasts,
Oh,
or InnoSight. And so
huh.
there's a big following. There's a great musical score. John Barry did the musical score.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, really good music. It's based on a book by Richard Matheson, who's a very popular writer. He wrote I Am Legend.
Oh,
He wrote the story on which they base the film Real Steel.
oh.
He did 16 episodes of The Twilight Zone, so he's quite a prolific writer. It's based on his book. It's called Bid Time Return, and so it's an adaptation of his
Hmm.
novel. So I'd like to read it. I haven't read it before, but big fan of this movie. I've only seen it a couple times. Actually, just got the Blu-ray fairly recently, and so I got to rewatch it this week, and still really like it. So it's my number four, Somewhere in Time.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Yep, you got to check it out.
I still
All
have
right.
time.
Right. Yeah. If only we had more time. Um, all right, Bert, we're on to your number four.
And I'm going with a Nicolas Cage film called Next,
Oh, yes. Yes. We've talked about
2007.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he's essentially time traveling very frequently throughout the film.
Mm,
Sometimes you may not even know he's time traveling
right.
because he can, I guess, in his mind, he can go forward on one path, and if that doesn't work out the way he wants to, he can just sort of rewind it and go a different path.
Right.
And as we see in a great sequence toward the end of the film, he actually is able to, I don't know, time travel hundreds of times, within a
Right.
a few seconds
Yeah,
to check all these possible scenarios. And we've seen this also in the MCU,
sure.
with Doctor Strange, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And he even maxed it out even more than that. And then,
Right.
but yeah, this film, I think it's got some great action, some great cinematography. I like the locations,
Mm-hmm.
and then that twist ending,
Oh yeah.
where I won't say it, but it's such a big time. It's like
Right.
a huge time travel. It's a huge time
Yes.
travel.
Yes. 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 Big time.
Kinda. I don't mean
Yeah.
going 10,000 years into the future.
Right.
It's
Right.
hard to explain, but it's just
Yeah.
very unique.
Hmm.
And I don't know. It's just um Nicolas Cage sells it as always, and there's some romance, which is really good.
Hmm.
Is it Rachel McAdams in this one?
I think it's Jessica Biel, isn't it?
It is Jessica Biel. I get them
Yeah.
confused sometimes. So yeah, just one I have traveled to many times to see, and strongly recommend it.
Yes. Yes. That should be next on my watch list because I have not seen it in a while. But I do remember quite enjoying it. Cage, he never fails.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's one I'll definitely have to check out again. All right, moving on to my number five. Rounding out the top five with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Um,
Okay.
Man, this is easily my favorite of the entire Wizarding World franchise.
Mm.
Big fan of this movie. Speaking of cinematography, you mentioned that this movie just looks incredible. I mean, there's some
Hmm.
really stunning shots. Um, Alfonso Cuarón directed this. It's the only Harry Potter movie he directed. And man, I wish he had done more because this is just on another level. I feel like he really does a great job. This is the film where the first two are very kind of lighter, kind of more kid friendly. This is where it gets kind of darker, and
Okay.
in the color palette and in the tone of the story. But yeah, Harry and his friends get this time travel device and have to go back in time and fix things and figure out this kind of mystery,
Hmm.
about regarding the prisoner of Azkaban himself, who is played by Gary Oldman, who's wonderful in this role.
Oh.
Gary Oldman is just fantastic. It's another very different look. He's got very long hair, and it's a kind of very different kind of look for him. But he plays a really interesting character. A character that you're really not sure about. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? You don't know. And it's a great performance. So yeah, this is my favorite again of all the Harry Potters, because I think it's just a great story. We get to see the same event from different perspectives at different times in the movie,
Hmm.
which I think is always a lot of fun. It's like, oh, they're looking at
Yeah.
themselves from a few minutes ago, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that kind of stuff, and so we get a lot of that here, and it's quite emotional, and like I said again, it kind of brings in that darker element, that the other films kind of started to run with. It got a nomination for Best Original Score, of course, John Williams, fantastic. And then Best Visual Effects, it got nominated for as well at the Oscars. So that one came out in 2004. It's the third in the Harry Potter franchise. So yeah, that's my number five pick.
Yeah, and the first Harry Potter I didn't like that much, and I never
Yeah,
saw the rest. And
right.
I guess my question is, if I check out part three, number three, will I need to have seen one and two, or not
I
necessarily?
don't I don't think so. I think you can really just
Okay.
jump in on three and kind of just take it from there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's going to be, I think, probably a couple references to stuff that happens in the first two, but I don't
Hmm.
think you'll be too lost. I think if you get the
Hmm.
idea, like Harry Potter and his friends, they're at this wizarding school, you'll kind of get it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you'll kind of
Okay.
get it. So,
Nice. I'm gonna
yeah,
give that a shot.
for sure. All right, Bert, we're on to your number five now. What do you got there?
Predestination.
Yes, yeah, that one's definitely on my list. Man, you took that one from me, but
Yeah.
great one.
This one, the movie itself is just so crazy and unique.
Yep.
So many twists. But what I
Right.
love is the setup, because what you think is just sort of average dialogue between a couple characters talking, for instance, Ethan Hawke and this Sarah Snook.
Yeah.
So many things they're saying mean something completely different when
Right.
you figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of stuff. I
Right.
like looking for the clues. And I'm thinking, okay, what's this all about? And then you're like mind blown, and then in
Right.
so many different ways, mind is blown.
Yep.
So as far as the time travel, there's it's been a few weeks now. There's like a suitcase or something, or like some kind of device that
Yeah.
they carry, right? And
Right,
then they
right.
can use that. I'll say they can use that
Yep.
to travel.
Sure.
And so yeah, this one, it's I guess it's just the story that's so
Mhm.
uh just crazy, and
Yeah.
and the time travel is all mixed in with it. So
Yep.
I guess so for me, it's so high on the list because of both of those. But man,
Yep.
story wise, this one maybe is one of the most original. You know?
Oh yeah, easily one of the most original and unique and just mind-blowing. It's basically every time travel paradox you can imagine in one movie. It's kind of how I describe it. And
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing how they're able to pull it off and make it all make sense and make it work and make it engaging and
yeah,
interesting. A little disturbing too. Maybe that's why
yeah.
it's not as high on my list as it is on yours,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah,
it's kind of odd to think about some of the things that you see and hear about in that movie. But it's really just unlike anything I've ever seen. So great pick. All right, we're gonna jump in now to my number six. Going back to the Back to the Future franchise, it's got to be part three for me.
ah,
Part three, I just adore um,
sure,
the
yeah,
way the Old West. I'm a huge fan of westerns, so getting to see Marty and Doc in that environment is so much fun. That might
yeah,
be the era I would go to. I don't think I would last very
yeah.
long, but it would be fun. I think just to see it,
If you die, you can't come back.
Exactly, that's true. That's a good point. Maybe not.
Maybe depends on the rules.
Right, exactly. But it's tons of fun, and I'm a big fan of trains and train sequences in movies, and that one
Mm,
has a great train sequence in it. Um, it's a lot of fun getting to see all the different. I like seeing Marty's ancestor, the McFlys, and getting to see Mad Dog Tannen and all of that, and I love it's
yeah,
all the same actors playing all these different roles. Leah Thompson's in there again,
yeah,
and all that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. This one I think hones in a lot more on the Marty and Doc relationship too, which I think was a smart move. Because two, I feel like is kind of messy, and three, I think got back to the heart of kind of that franchise, and they did a great job with it. So yeah, it's a great conclusion. It's always hard to make a third one that really sticks the landing, and I feel like they really did it there. So yeah, big fan of that one. So that's my number six.
yeah. Great film, and that one could have been really bad without
Oh
a good
yeah,
script.
yep,
And them playing the other versions of themselves, it could have been hysterically bad, but it's not.
true.
It's a great one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's good. They have enough humor in it to make you're not taking it too seriously, but you still care about the characters. It's that good balance that they have in that movie. All right, Bert, that is my number six. So now we're on to your number six. What do you have there?
going to the lake house.
Still haven't seen this.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I gotta watch it.
It's so unique because in this time travel film, no person actually does any time traveling.
Ah,
It's,
okay.
do you want me to tell you? It
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
been in the
yeah.
trailer,
Yeah, I
but
think I've seen the trailer. I think
oh,
it's the
okay.
letters they send or something.
Yes. So
Yeah, okay.
I guess you could say a mailbox does the time traveling.
Right. You can't crawl in there, so they can't do it.
Yeah. And so I won't give a lot of detail.
Hmm.
But yeah, so these two people happen to inhabit the same home at the same time, except then they realize that they're actually 2 years apart by sending each other letters through this magical mailbox.
Cool.
And so it just how they figure it out and what they do when they figure it out, and then what that turns into is kind of a rush for time thing at the end.
Mm,
It's just really neat. And
that's cool.
um, Keanu and what can oh what's his
Sandra
name again?
Bullock, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't actually share a scene until the very end.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So I don't. It doesn't really give away anything to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's very unique in that sense. But
Right.
I've just watched this one so many times. It's very kind of a lighter film to watch,
Right. Right. Yeah.
And there's quite a few times that'll crack you up, and in the interplay between the two of them, even though they're not sharing scenes, they kind of are. So it's kind of hard to explain. But
Huh.
yeah, strongly recommend this one.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I've been wanting to watch for a while. For whatever reason, I haven't seen it yet. So yeah, maybe I'll seek that one out this week and try to check it out. So cool. Yeah, excellent. All right,
Yeah, they
moving
were in Speed
on.
together,
Yeah,
so it's kind of
exactly. That's like the
a
reunion.
revisit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
cool. That's great.
yeah.
Excellent. All right, we're gonna move on to my seven. which is Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. And I have right here
Oh, I have not seen this.
the this is the map that they
Whoa.
use in the movie.
Hmm.
This came with the Criterion Collection Blu-ray that I have.
Oh,
So you can kind of follow along, although the map doesn't really
can
make
I?
much sense, but yeah.
Right.
No.
Huh.
But it's kind of cool they included that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a fun one. This is, Terry Gilliam before he made Brazil. I think he'd only made one movie, Jabberwocky.
Mm.
And so he was trying to get Brazil made, but he kept getting turned down by the studios. And so he's like, well, I'll make like a more of a commercial family kind of movie. And that's what he did here. And Time Bandits is just so much fun. It's this little kid who's obsessed with history. He's neglected by his parents. He's in his bedroom one night, and this horse comes through the wardrobe and with a
Oh.
knight on it, and it's like kind of rearing up in his bedroom and he's freaking out. And
Hmm.
then a bunch of dwarves come through and they're all played
Oh.
by little people, and they have these they're these time traveling bandits. I mean, they're the titular bandits, and so they kind of grab the kid and have him come along on this journey across time. And this one's a lot of fun because they're going back and they're meeting all these characters from history. So they meet Napoleon, played by Ian Holm.
Oh.
They meet Robin Hood, played by John Cleese. So some of them are like legendary, like figures, and others are like real historical figures.
Hmm.
But it's a great cast. Sean Connery shows up in there as
Oh.
well. So it's got a pretty big cast. And it's just a lot of fun. It's very imaginative. Gilliam
Hmm.
calls this the first of his trilogy of imagination, which includes this,
Oh.
Brazil, and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen,
Oh
three
yeah.
films that he made. And so they're fun. This one's really cool, very whimsical, very just different and kind of interesting, and it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun kind of
Okay.
children's fantasy, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
so yeah, I enjoy that movie. Shelley Duvall's in it as well, and she's really
Okay.
good too. So yeah, it's funny, and it's got a surprise ending too, which you probably wouldn't see coming. He's kind of been
Hmm.
criticized, I think, for the ending a little bit. They're like, really, that's the ending? But I like it. I like it
Oh.
more every time I watch it. Yeah, Time Bandits, definitely one to check out, from back in 1981.
Yeah.
Great production design on that movie. Really,
Hmm.
really interesting looking film.
Okay.
All right, Bert, we're on to your seven pick now.
Got one that I can't believe this even made my list, but it's Click is the name of it. The
Oh,
Adam
really?
Sandler
Okay,
film.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. I
sure.
didn't remember liking this film much at all when it came out, and I
Okay.
revisited it and I was just kind of blown away.
Okay.
A lot of it depends on how much you're laughing,
Sure,
because
sure.
it's a comedy.
Right.
And I did laugh a lot. And most of the comedy worked for me.
Okay.
Christopher Walken's hilarious in it too.
Yes.
There's actually some really good visual effects. I didn't say at the beginning, but yeah, he's got this remote control that helps
Right.
him not rewind. I think it's just fast forward, isn't it? Yeah.
I think he can do
Yeah.
both. I think he can pause forward and rewind, if
Oh,
I
that's
remember
right.
right. Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. He can
Only
at least
seen it
pause and
once.
go
It's been a while.
forward.
Yeah.
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 And uh, honestly, the film takes a turn at a certain point where it kind of tries to uh, teach Adam Sandler's character about the importance of valuing your time. And so,
Mhm.
and that message isn't too heavy-handed. I think it actually works really well.
Mhm.
And it's a little bit emotional and that kind of thing. So I was surprised. I was loving it. I could not believe that Click. It's one of those begrudging rewatches,
Right.
and thank goodness it was really
Okay.
good.
Cool. I'll have to do the same because, like the other film I mentioned earlier, I've only seen this once.
Hmm.
I don't remember hating it. I don't remember loving it. It's kind of one of
Yeah,
those. So
right,
maybe I will
right.
check it out again, and maybe I'll get as much enjoyment out of it as you did, hopefully. Because yeah, I do remember that message at the end of being like, yeah, appreciate the time you have, and don't
Right.
fast forward through life or anything like that. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I have to check that one out again. All right, moving on to my number eight. It's going to be a film titled Midnight in Paris.
Oh, I saw this one.
Oh, did you? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was good. It was good.
yeah, I like this one a lot. I hadn't seen it until this week. My brother Carson recommended it.
Oh, okay.
He had seen it, he really liked it, and so said, all right, I'll check it out. And Owen Wilson, just he's so likable. He's such a likable actor. He's very just kind of a relatable kind of guy, I guess. And so I
Yeah,
like him a
yeah.
lot. He's great. McAdams again. I guess she has a thing about these time travel movies. I don't know.
Right.
She's in these again in this one. She's playing a very different character though, especially from About Time, where there she's very lovely and kind. Here she's very
Hmm.
like self-absorbed and sort of not even really into
Yeah,
him that much. She's kind of
yeah,
doing her
yeah.
own thing. Kind of a little mean, but that's kind of fun
Right.
to see actresses branch out and do different kinds of
Yeah,
roles like that. So
she
I
never gets
like
to do
that.
that.
Right, exactly. So I liked her in it. I liked him. And then the supporting cast is just phenomenal. Once he does figure out how to go back in time, which uh, this actually, come to think of it, has kind of a lot in common with Somewhere in Time. And the titles are even similar.
Mm.
Somewhere in Time, Midnight in Paris. It's kind of an
Hmm.
interesting, there's a little parallel there. But he kind of goes back in time through this specific street corner and
Yeah,
this vehicle that pulls up every night at midnight.
yeah.
He gets into the vehicle and he's transported off to the 1920s
Hmm. Speaking of
in
the
Paris.
1920s, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so he meets all of these historical figures, mostly literary figures, because he's a writer. He's trying to write this novel.
Mhm.
And so he meets, Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway and all these really cool people. Pablo
Yeah.
Picasso even is in there. There's all these kind of fun artists from that era that show up. And the cast is great. You've got Tom Hiddleston, Alison Pill, Corey Stoll, Kathy Bates is in it. A couple
Yeah.
of great French actresses that we've seen pop up in a lot of things. Marion Cotillard and Léa Seydoux, both are great in this too. And it's just a really fun, easy watch. It's beautiful looking. I mean, this doesn't make you want to move to Paris. I don't know what will. I mean, it's just a beautiful city, especially mostly at night. The lighting and everything, it just looks great. So it's a really fun watch, funny. Has some dramatic moments. And it's got a great message too. So
Yeah.
that one was great. Not, a lot of Oscar nominations, nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Art Direction, and it won Best Original Screenplay, which I think it well deserved. So that one just came out back in
Wow.
2011. So I would highly
Yeah.
recommend it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Owen Wilson's so chill. He finds out that
Right.
he's unwittingly transported through time, and within about 5 seconds, he's like, "All right, okay." He
Right.
just totally accepts it.
Exactly.
Just and then
Totally.
just acts like acts normal the rest of the time. Most of
Exactly.
the time when this happens to characters, they're freaking out. They're trying to figure
Right.
out how got to go here to fix this and do that.
Right.
He's like, "Okay,
He kind of loves
and
it.
who are
It's
you?
kind
And
of
it's
it's kind
nice
of
to
like a
meet you."
dream
And
come true for him. So,
right,
which I kind of get because again,
yeah,
I would say I would go to the past and I would like to meet like some historical figures maybe like he does. So it's kind of a dream come true for
right.
for us. But yeah, that was a fun one. All right, Bert, we're on to your number 8. What do you got?
Okay, and we're churning along, and I'm still all these films are at least 4.5 stars. So it was really hard to slot them.
Same for me. Yep,
Oh,
same for
yeah.
me. Hmm.
Another one here is called Coherence,
Oh,
2013.
okay.
Not very well known film.
Hmm.
Got to be low budget.
Hmm.
89 minutes long. So this film, it's a cast of unknowns, and what it is these five couples get together for like a couple's dinner at one of their houses.
Hmm.
And as it so happens, there's a comet that's going overhead. I don't want to give it away because it's one of these brilliant films, kind of like Predestination, not quite as clever as Predestination, but still very clever in that you don't know what's going on, and neither do they. And then as it progresses, you kind of
Mm.
it's gradually revealed to you,
Right,
and then
right.
you figure out how genius it is, and then
Yeah,
it's a bit of a puzzle to try to solve to put
yeah.
it together. So
Right, right.
rewatches would certainly be rewarding, and
Mm.
so that's all I want to say because I strongly recommend it. There's only one, maybe two locations, and I just love when a film can pull that off and make it compelling.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a horror slant to this
Mm.
one. It doesn't
Okay.
go all in. It's not like super
Hmm.
gory or anything like that.
Right, right.
There aren't too many time travel horror films, I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
But this one kind of flirts with that a little bit, but it's
Hmm.
more just kind of horrifying when you realize what could be happening, that sort of
Okay,
thing,
okay.
more
Yeah,
psychological.
right.
But yeah, I strongly recommend this one. I was very
Okay.
shocked. It's another one of those I thought, well, here's an 89-minute movie. I'll burn through this one and then we'll check that one off the list. But
Right.
hold on, it was actually really great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's definitely one I'll have to check out. Don't think I've heard of it. You said it's a Netflix film?
It was either that or Prime or one of those.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it
I
out.
forget. Yeah,
Coherence. Interesting. Awesome. All right, cool.
yeah.
Always good to add stuff to the watch list. Okay, we're gonna jump over away from horror to family film, an animated film from Disney titled Meet the Robinsons. Um,
Oh, okay.
this one's tons of fun. Our family really likes this one. Watched it many times. It's kind of quirky, retro futurist kind of feel, kind of has that more of like that 50s future aesthetic. Um, it's this little kid named Wilbur Robinson, who's this really smart foster kid, who one day this kid shows up with a time machine and says, "Hey, I need you in the future." And they go off on this adventure, and he kind of meets this kid's family, and they're all kind of very quirky, odd characters, and it's really, really fun movie, and it has a great kind of a couple of kind of twists in it that you don't really see coming in regards to the villain and to the hero and different things that happen to them. But this is a really fun one. It's very colorful, very interesting, engaging, exciting, short run time.
Hmm.
It's based on a children's book by William Joyce from 1990 called A Day with Wilbur Robinson. But this one came out in 2007. It was kind of like, early days kind of computer generated Disney movies. And it's one of the better ones, I
Gotcha.
think. I think
Yeah.
it's got a really strong story. I think that's the strongest element of it. And the time travel plays a hugely integral role to the plot. So, yeah, if you haven't seen Meet the
Okay.
Robinsons, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, you talked about it a few times, so I've got to
Yeah.
get that one ordered up for the kids
Oh,
and
yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah, the whole family will enjoy it. All right, Bert, on to your number nine. What do you got?
Going with a kind of a lesser known film again. I'll Follow You Down is the name of it from
Hmm.
2013.
Okay.
Stars Gillian Anderson, Haley Joel Osment, and Rufus Sewell, as well as
Hmm.
Victor Garber,
Oh, okay.
um,
Great.
too. Have you not seen this one?
I have not. No. No, it sounds
Okay.
like a good cast though.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And this one is it's pretty much straight drama as far
Mm,
as the genre it would land
hmm.
in. Uh,
Hmm.
it has kind of the same feel, I would say, as a the Time Machine movie like that.
Oh, okay.
Tonally,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's a very compelling drama, great acting and direction. And I don't think it really gives a whole lot away to say that Rufus Sewell plays a guy that can travel through time, and he makes his first journey and gets stuck there, and then his family is left wondering what happened to him, while his
Oh.
son figures out that he was able to travel through time. So
Mm,
then he tries to figure out if he can do it too, and all this kind of stuff. But
okay.
and there's a lot of emotional scenes and that kind of thing.
Mm,
It's maybe even a bit darker than the Time Machine, I should say, but
mm, hmm.
and it gets a little bit more intense throughout the film, one of those kind of
Mm,
things, and it has a really good ending. So
okay.
it's worth seeking
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
I think you'd like it.
Excellent. Yeah. Haven't seen Haley Joel Osment in anything in a while, so
Yeah.
that would be fun to watch. Cool. All right. We're gonna go back to Terry Gilliam. This is a guy I really like him as a filmmaker. He's so unique and specific, and um, just has such a style that you instantly recognize. It's called 12 Monkeys. This
Oh,
came out
okay.
back in 1995. Stars Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis. It's really different. It's this dystopian future, and they send Bruce Willis back in time to figure out how to stop this dystopian, apocalyptic, really future from happening. And so it's really interesting. It's a big, crazy journey. It's a wild journey. It got more of the kind of great production design that he's known for, and just a very kind of strange vibe and very energetic kind of camera work and that kind of thing. So it's a film that's very engaging, very interesting. The more I watch it, the more I like it. And when I first saw it, I kind of was put off by it a little bit, but then I was like, I want to rewatch that because there were so many interesting elements to it. And it's one of those things where, again, more I watch, the more I like it. Willis is doing a very subdued kind of performance. Brad Pitt's the opposite. He's kind of like the manic, crazy guy. Very, very interesting performance from Brad Pitt. Very different from anything he's done. Different look, everything. And there, I was listening to the commentary last night with the director and the producer, and they talked a lot about how that was all Brad Pitt's choices. Like he really wanted to kind of branch out from what he had kind of started to be known for, and do something very
Yeah.
different. And so it's really fun, fun movie to watch. He was nominated, Brad Pitt, for Best Supporting Actor, and it
Wow.
was also nominated for Best Costume Design. Um, so yeah, 12 Monkeys is one that's it's weird, it's different. It might put you off at first, but maybe try again after you've seen it and try to get into it because it is fun. It's got one of those again great endings where you go, "Oh, that's what that is," and it kind of
Mm.
you connect all the dots. So it's a fun one.
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way through it last time I watched
Really?
it. And I think that might be the second time I tried it.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know, but I probably should finish it at least once.
Yeah.
Terry Gilliam, yeah, he's pretty out there. I don't know if I really
Yeah.
get his films.
Right. Yeah, he's a strange one. He's a strange one. There's no doubt about it. All right, rounding out, that was my top 10. So, why don't you round out your top 10 now, Bert, with your 10th choice?
Okay, next I've got a movie called FAQ about time travel, or
Oh,
frequently asked questions about time travel.
great. I got to watch this.
Oh, good, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah, and this is I'm sure it's a very small budget,
Yeah,
minimal locations. Again, I like
right.
when they can, take a small amount and make it great, as opposed to
Yes,
some films where
yes.
they've got all the resources in the world, and it's like, where'd the money go, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, and these fellows go to the pub, and then they end up unwittingly time traveling. It's one of these where they end up seeing the versions of themselves from other angles and things like
Hmm.
that. So I need
Hmm.
to rewatch this. I haven't seen it in a couple years. I've actually seen it probably at least three times, but
Okay,
I forget some of the intricacies of it. But
sure.
it's funny, and yeah, very brisk runtime. Really
Yeah.
enjoy this one.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. Great premise, great performances. Chris O'Dowd is a guy I really like. I wish he would pop up in more things. And then Anna
Sure.
Faris, I think, is hilarious too.
Yeah, yeah.
And they kind of carry the film.
Mhm.
I kind of dozed off. I think I put it on too late, and I kind of dozed off like maybe halfway through, and then I
Gotcha.
woke back up towards the end, and so I was like, okay, wait, what happened? So I need to rewatch it to get a full picture of it. But it was a fun watch for sure. So yeah,
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. Staying in the comedy realm with my number 11. I'm going with my favorite time travel comedy. It's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Okay. Sure.
1989, Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, George Carlin is in there too. This one's just tons of fun. I have a blast with it every time I've seen it. I think the tagline is history is about to be rewritten by two guys who can't spell. And I think that's a perfect kind of summation. They're kind of dim-witted guys. They want
Yeah.
to be big
Yeah.
rock stars, but
Right.
they they don't do well in school. But in the future, the movie starts in the future, and they send this guy back to kind of save the future because they're going to end up not only being big rock stars, but saving the world and creating peace on Earth and all of these incredible things they're going to do. But they have to make sure that they ace this history assignment. That's kind of what sets them on the path, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So George Carlin gives them the time machine, which in this one is a telephone booth, which I think is kind of fun, unassuming kind of thing. And the way they depict the time travel, it looks like they're kind of going through like, wires basically, kind of like telephone
Yeah.
wires or
Yeah.
something. It's kind
Right.
of an interesting way to do that. But it's a funny visual too because they have to kind of cram all these historical figures into this telephone booth. So, they get Abe Lincoln
Right.
and
That's right. That's
Socrates and
right.
Billy the Kid. They all have to kind of cram in there together.
Socrates.
So
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. The other two Bill and Ted movies I like a lot, but I think they never quite reach the greatness of the first one, just because of the whole idea of these two idiots going back to grab these historical figures they know very little about. Um, and
Yeah.
the finale with the big history report where they're all there is a lot of fun to watch too. So yeah, just a fun movie. We get a lot of laughs out of it. And it does a lot of those time travel things of like, hey, remind me to go back and put dad's keys here so they'll be here when we come here. And here they are. So it's like,
Yeah.
those fun kind of silly time travel paradox things that they kind of play with and have fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I'm glad Keanu took a different path though with his career and didn't just stay in silly comedy.
I agree. I agree. Yes, it's cool that he can do
Who would have
both,
known,
though.
right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind. I kind
Mm.
of wish he would do more comedy. He did that one. Always Be My Maybe, I think it's called. He showed up in that. It's a Netflix movie he did. He
Okay.
showed up as kind of like a cameo role. It's kind of fun
Oh,
in
okay.
that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he's the action guy now. It's kind of crazy to think about. All right, Bert, we're at your number 11.
And that is going to be Time Lapse from 2014.
Okay, another one I haven't
Um,
seen.
I'm going to read a brief description because it's the easiest way
Yeah.
to explain it. Three friends discover a mysterious machine that takes pictures 24 hours into the future, and they conspire to use it for personal gain, and then disturbing and dangerous things happen.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, and this one's unique because a person is not time traveling, nor is a mailbox. It's that a thing is able to let them see into the future, so they're using that
Right.
thing
Right.
to change the future. So
Huh.
it's a quite a unique slant.
Yeah.
Again, very low budget,
Right.
unknowns, and it's one I visited a few times, but
Mm.
it just again, like a lot of these, they just get more and more intense
Right.
as the runtime goes.
Yeah.
This one's definitely, it's not horror, but it's definitely more of
Right.
a, I guess you should say a
Thriller.
thriller, but
Yeah.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
but very, very unique. Very,
Hmm.
very highly recommended.
Yeah, it sounds neat. Have to check that one out too. Cool. All right, let's move on to a classic that you just mentioned not too long ago, The Time Machine, from
Mm.
1960. I'm going with the original because I prefer that one a little bit to the remake.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's really cool. H.G. Wells, of course, his novel from 1895. I mean, I think this has got to be one of the earliest time travel stories ever written that we're aware of, at least.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's highly influential on
Yeah.
specifically the time travel genre. Kind of all of them, get the whole idea of a time machine from this movie, or the book rather. The movie won Best Visual Effects, which is kind of cool, back in
Wow.
1960. So this is I mean, this is before Planet of the Apes or Star Trek or anything like that. So it's a really
Yeah.
well-made movie. It's fun to watch. It's a little hokey. Some of the effects now don't hold up quite as well, but it does have
Hmm.
some genuinely kind of frightening moments, when he gets way into the future. And if you've seen the remake, kind of the creatures he has to battle and all of that stuff, is pretty cool. It's
Mm.
pretty compelling. Some great sets, and a good lead performance. I forget the actor's name. I should have looked it up, but he does a really great job playing the title or the lead role. And the time machine itself does look really cool. It's a really unique kind of design, this kind of big contraption that he gets on and travels through time with. And I think the reason it won Best Visual Effects is because of that scene where, this is a time machine that doesn't move. It stays in one place, and everything around it, you kind of see kind of time pass by
Yeah.
him around as it's kind of
I love
going
that.
on. Yeah, it's a really cool scene. And it's great in the
Don't
remake
they do that in
too.
AI as well?
Yeah, yeah, they have that time lapse of him
Although
sitting there.
he's
He's not traveling
yeah,
through time.
yeah,
He's
it's
just
more of a
kind
time
of
lapse.
existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This does that same kind of idea. So yeah, Time Machine
Cool.
had to make it there somewhere. So it ended up at number 12.
Yeah. And if that third act was better, it'd probably be way up higher on my list.
Yeah, a lot of people don't care for the ending. I
It's
get
just
it.
weird.
I get it. It
Yeah.
is weird. It is weird. It's very weird. All right, Bert, what do you have at your number 12?
Didn't I already say my number 12? Oh,
I think that
no,
was
I didn't.
11.
It's Deja Vu.
Oh, that was my next one.
Oh, that was a joke though.
Oh,
Ask me
was
if you
it?
I already said it. Okay. So anyway, did not land well. Yes. Well, we can both talk about it.
Okay,
This
let's
is
do it.
one where I'm so glad I rewatched it because I don't know
Mm.
what problem I had with it the first time, but I watched it a few
Oh.
months ago. Brilliant film. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like another one of these where they're using an implement to help
Yeah,
them change the future, right? Or monitor the
right.
future or something like that.
Kind of,
And this
yeah.
one's much more of a like a big budget action movie,
Yep,
you know.
yep, yep.
And Denzel's always great. So yeah,
Mhm.
this one's just as good. I actually prefer the small, like I said, the smaller, but when smaller budget can do it. So that's why
Yeah.
it's behind what's time lapse is the name of the
Yeah, yeah.
the other
Right.
one.
Yep.
But still very enjoyable. This Deja Vu is very enjoyable throughout. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good. It's Tony Scott, Denzel Washington. They've teamed up on tons of movies. Val Kilmer's in there. Really, really good. I didn't know that they filmed this in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, which is pretty
Oh,
interesting. So yeah, it's really well
wow.
done though. Great kind of editing. Jim Caviezel's in there too, playing a different kind of role for him, and yeah,
Yeah,
another
yeah.
unique kind of use of time travel, this kind of murder mystery thing that's going on. And yeah, this I remember that explosion on that ferry. It just looks so cool. It's like such a great looking explosion, and we see it many times throughout the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
which is why it kind of stands out.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
great pick, great film. I've got that one. I've watched it many times. Really good. Let's jump now to my number 13 pick. And the reason I'm wearing the Star Trek gear is because I had to go with Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home,
Okay.
which was when I first watched it, I was like, this is the worst Star Trek movie ever. What is this? I don't get it. It's got whales. It's bizarre.
Right.
But the more I've watched it, the more I've appreciated this movie. I really think it's great. It's a great story. All the characters have kind of interesting little arcs they go through. It's got a lot of comedy. It's very fish out of water. These people from the future coming back to the 1980s. 1986 is when it was made, and just kind of being dumbfounded by the world around them. Shatner's great. Leonard Nimoy's great. The whole cast is wonderful. DeForest Kelly, I'm a huge fan of. Leonard Nimoy directed this one too, which is kind of cool. He directed the
Hmm.
third one, which is The Search for Spock, directed by
Yeah.
Spock.
Search
And
for
then,
himself. Yeah.
right, exactly. And then, but he only did that if he would be allowed to direct the fourth one. And I
Oh,
think he might have
okay.
even co-written it.
Hmm.
It's very kind of political and got this environmentalist message that he was really into. So I just think he does a great job directing it. It's probably in my like top three Star Trek movies now, because I just think it's so much fun to watch. It was nominated also for best cinematography. The cinematography is really good. Has a great score too. So yeah, it's a unique. It's kind of like The Outlier. All the rest of them are like all in outer space and fighting aliens and all that. And this one's like the one where they're in the past trying to capture whales. It's like there's really no action really in it at all. But it's just fun. It's a fun kind of character fish out of water comedy with these
Yeah.
characters that I really like because I'm a huge fan of the original series and the original films. And
Yeah.
of course, other Star Trek movies deal with time travel in various ways. I almost included the 2009 film, which is my favorite Star Trek movie, but there's not enough time travel in it. There's like time travel at the beginning, and that's really
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with this one because it's more about them going to the past, doing a thing, coming back to the future, and saving the day. So I ended up going with Star Trek 4 for my Star Trek pick.
Yeah. I like that one. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I probably should rewatch it.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. Okay, Bert, we're now on to your number 13. So what do you got?
Synchronic
Oh,
from
okay.
2019.
Hmm.
Another one that has, well, I mean, it's not a completely unknown cast, but I mean, Anthony Mackie, is that how you say his name?
Yep.
He's really big now. Of course,
Oh
he's
yeah,
about to lead off the next huge Marvel film
that's right.
coming up here.
Yeah.
And this film is it's kind of a crime mystery film to put it in a genre.
Hmm.
And he plays a paramedic, and these strange events start happening,
Hmm.
and then time travel occurs. And I'll just say that in this one, it's kind of unique because the time travel, you stand in a certain spot, and there's kind of a wave that kind of passes over the person, and then it
Hmm.
reveals like where you're at in back in
Hmm.
time.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not where you want to be necessarily. But this was really great. Very rewarding, what it led up to at the end. Some great visuals,
Hmm.
great score. Strongly recommend this one.
Okay, great. Yeah, another one I haven't seen, so I'll definitely have to put that one on the old watch list. Great. Okay, moving on. I'm at number 14 for me. I'm gonna go with Francis Ford Coppola's Peggy Sue Got Married.
Oh,
This came
Nicolas
out back
Cage,
in,
right?
yeah, yeah, early days. Nicolas Cage. Yeah, him and Kathleen Turner are both great in this. It came out in 86. he just does a great job with this story. It's all about, you know, love, this kind of romance story, and this woman who's, you know, not sure if she made the right choices in life and wants to kind of reassess. So it's
Mm.
very character centric again, very funny too. You know, it's kind of a romantic comedy basically that happens to feature time travel. And it's one of these where she just kind of wakes up in the past. You know, it's no time machine or anything like
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay.
She
Gotcha.
just kind of wakes up and she's back there, and she kind of gets to relive these moments of her life, but she can make different choices, or should she make different choices? Does she really want to? Um,
Oh,
Kind of one of those where she kind of just, it's about kind of just appreciating where you're at in life and all these things that could have been or should have been, or, you know, whatever you wanted. Maybe the way it happened is the way it should happen. And so it's kind of one of those films. And yeah, Nick Cage, he's always great here. He's so young. It's so kind of fun to see him this way, and he's kind of doing this accent, and very endearing character he plays. It's really really great. Kathleen Turner's wonderful in it. She really carries the movie. She was nominated for Best Actress that year for this film, and it also got nominated for cinematography and costume design. And so this is a unique one among
mm.
Coppola's filmography. I feel like he's kind of known for
Yeah.
like Apocalypse Now, Godfather, like all these kind of bigger, heavier movies, but this is very light, kind of just fun. Again, like a romantic comedy, really. So I really like this one. I've only seen it once. I'd like to watch it again, but remember it very fondly. So that ended up on the list at number 14.
I need to watch that one.
Yeah, I think you'd get a kick out of it. All right, Bert, on to your 14th pick. What do you have?
I'm going to a film called Time Freak.
Okay.
I'm just pulling out all kinds of titles here. Time
Seriously,
Freak.
yeah. Love it.
I hadn't heard of it until I saw it on a list of great time travel films
Okay.
from 2018. You'd probably recognize Sophie. Well, maybe recognize Sophie Turner. Well, yeah,
Oh yeah,
from
of
X-Men.
course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this one is kind of like Project Almanac in that it's a guy, or kind of a young guy who's trying to win a girl. But this one's more of a comedy. So so it's sort
Okay.
of the comedy
Okay.
version of Project Almanac.
Sure.
And this is neat because the kids, I'll just call him a kid. He's probably, I don't know, 18, 20.
Right.
He's a genius, so he invents time travel. So what happens in this film, the rule is when you go back in time, you inhabit your own body. You don't like create a copy of yourself.
Oh,
So you
okay.
control your body back then. You
Yeah.
like get in that body,
Right,
and you still
right.
remember what you did, what you're going to do in the future too.
Right,
But then
right.
you can change. It makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Right.
uh, but it was a lot of fun. And Sophie Turner does a great American accent, brilliant actually.
Okay.
And there's a lot of comedy, has a great ending. So it's a low budget film. It's
Okay.
really enjoyable. And again, a triumph to be pulling that off for such a low budget.
Yeah, yeah, I love to see that. Yeah, those kind of lower budget movies doing that kind of thing, and how they pull it off is always interesting to see. So yeah, that's definitely one I'll put into the watch list because I like
Time
that
Freak.
cast. Yeah, Time Freak. Interesting. Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna stay in the rom-com mode. Kate and Leopold from
Oh,
2001.
okay.
I really like this
It's on my
movie.
list.
Is it really? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, another great James Mangold movie. I talk about him a lot. He's one of my favorite directors,
Oh
and
yeah.
he did great with this. It's fish out of water comedy because Hugh Jackman is playing the titular Leopold, who's pulled from 1876 or something to 2001
Yeah.
through this time portal. So that's how the time travel happens here. There's a
Mm.
specific place. Liev Schreiber plays his great great grandson, who's a physicist, and he's figured out this specific spot where there's a time portal, and so he pulls his ancestor
Mm.
into the present day, and he falls in love with his ex girlfriend, played by Meg Ryan, who of course is well known in this genre of film. She's great here. Hugh Jackman's wonderful. Schreiber, I think, is always great too.
Liev. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him. Great supporting cast too. Breckin Meyer is a guy I think is really funny, and
Oh yeah.
Bradley Whitford too, both in this. So yeah, big fan of this movie. I've liked it. I've only seen it a couple times. I'd like to watch it again. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember really enjoying it, getting a lot of laughs out of it, and just really liking the character dynamics and relationships and all that. I looked up, it was nominated for Best Original Song for Until by Sting. So
Oh, okay.
did get a Oscar nom for that. I think it's the
Huh.
end credits song. So yeah, Kate Leopold made the list in at number 15.
I wonder if a filmmaker ever gets frustrated with that thing where they go through this experience of doing all this effort to make the film, all the departments and everything.
Right.
Someone writes a song and they get the
Yeah.
Oscar.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You
All you
know?
did was write a song. Hey, at least they can say this movie was Oscar nominated, you know. Uh,
Yes. For none of the other reasons, but for the
right,
song. Yeah.
right. All right, Bert, we're at your 15 now. What do you have there?
The Tomorrow War,
Oh yeah, that was a fun
the
one.
Chris
Yeah,
Pratt film.
right.
Yeah. Yvonne Strahovski, J.K. Simmons.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, this is the one where people get drafted to
Right.
jaunt into the future to
Yep.
fight a war in the future.
Right.
Seems a bit improbable, but
Not enough bodies
but you
in the
want to
future
fight
to
the
throw out.
future war.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is unique and interesting. It really
Right.
works though.
Hmm.
There's some great action and
Hmm.
effects, and there's scenes that are quite emotional as
Mm.
well, dealing with family
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So yeah, I this is a real strong. It is more obviously much more of a big budget film. I think this one's a Netflix film.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's actually Prime, and I remember reading, I think this is
okay.
the most
I think you're right, actually.
expensive film they've ever made. It was like 200 million or something
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
But it shows on
Yeah, I
screen.
don't
I
know if
mean,
I see all that up on the
yeah.
screen, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
right.
mean, yeah, there are some impressive scenes though. I mean,
Right,
most of that
right.
200 million, I think, is shown on the screen. There's some really,
Sure.
really good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those I kind of wish could see in theaters. You know, I feel like it would have been more
yeah,
like epic.
right. Well, I think it came out during 2021, so COVID
Oh,
was
yeah. Good
a
point.
thing. So
Yeah,
otherwise, I'm
yeah.
sure it would have come out in the theater.
Probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
budget.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, good pick. Moving on to my 16. It's gonna be a movie I really like, that a lot of people don't. I've never really figured out why. 1998's Lost in Space.
Okay.
I like this movie a lot. I think it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
of course based on the TV series that ran back in the 60s, which itself was based on the Swiss Family Robinson novel by Jonathan David Weiss. It's a cool kind of updated version of that whole idea of, the family that goes off into space to explore and they get kind of stranded out there. I feel like it's hard when doing a movie based on a show to make it just, you're basically doing one long episode of the show. And how are you going to do that? And how are you going to make it make sense and not drag on? And
And not only
um,
that, do you want to give away too much in the first movie? I mean, are you gonna have a sequel? I mean, look
right.
at the Mario film. Like, I feel like they threw
Oh,
almost everything
yeah.
in that one, and now they probably regret it, right?
Yeah, good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, you
Great
don't
film
want
too.
to do too much. You don't want to do too little and just leave the audience wanting more. So it's a tough balance. And
Yeah,
I think they did it here.
yeah,
That's of course
yeah.
never got a sequel, but I don't think it needs it because of the time travel story that they're telling. I think it really works and it kind of brings it all full circle. And the performances are all great from the younger cast to the older cast. William Hurt is leading the cast here and does a fantastic job. Matt LeBlanc, I feel like he maybe gets the most hate for this movie because he's kind of like known as, Joey from Friends, and he's kind of an action hero in this. I thought it worked. I thought
Yeah.
he was convincing in the action role.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got some cool tech, like that cool helmet he has, and all
Hmm.
this other gear that he has. That a lot of the effects I think hold up really well in this movie. It's for '98. I mean, it's pretty
Hmm.
incredible what they were able to
Yeah,
achieve.
yeah,
And the robot, of course, being practical and looking
yeah,
great. Another great Gary
yes,
Oldman performance. He's the
yeah.
villain here, and he's
He's
so
so
good as the
snaky.
villain.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh man, just hate him. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a really fun movie. I've enjoyed it many times. I listened to the commentary fairly recently, within the last couple months, a few months, I guess, and really liked it. Like it still. So yeah, that made my number 16.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater. I
Did
remember
you?
going. I remember which theater I saw it at and everything. I was
Oh
just blown
wow.
away in the theater. I
Yeah.
just came out of there just buzzing.
Oh cool.
Yeah, I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not. I almost didn't consider it because it's not all about time travel until
Yeah,
really the end.
yeah,
But
right,
the end is
right.
like it's all about that, and it
True.
kind of messes with your head, and
Sure.
so that's why I did end up including it because it ends up kind of all being about that, even though throughout the movie it's not
Yeah.
really all about that. So,
Sure. Yeah.
um,
Good one.
okay, Bert, on to your 16.
Frequency from 2000.
Oh, I
And this one
see.
stars,
I really want to watch this.
yeah, it's
Still not
Dennis
seen it.
Quaid, Jem Caviezel, Noah Emmerich is in there too, Andre
Oh,
Braugher, some really
okay.
good actors. And this is one where a character, well, okay, character played by Jem Caviezel finds out that through his, I think it's a ham radio, he's
Mhm.
somehow like the Northern Lights are real big one night, and he's able to
Mhm.
communicate with his dad who has passed away, and he's back 20 years ago, back
Mm,
in time.
that's
So
cool.
it's almost like the Lake House thing again, where
Right,
they're
right.
able to communicate with. Except this is live time,
Yeah, right.
and there's a lot of immediacy going on. The plot does meander a little bit, but the film itself is brilliant.
Mm,
Excellent drama, some emotional beats to it as well,
mm.
and so yeah, it's yeah, just a really good one.
Yeah, definitely. It's been on my watch list for a while. I need to seek it out and find out how I can watch that. Great. All right. Well, we're going to my 17 now, and that is going to be another one that a lot of people don't care for. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, I get a kick out of this movie. I think it's tons of fun. It's sort of it reminds me a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Mummy, those kind of like high fantasy adventure, kind of swashbuckling films.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Disney kind of intended this to be their new Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Ended up failing miserably, both
Mm.
critically and at the box office, so it didn't end up getting any sequels. It's based on a video game franchise, several of which I've
Yeah.
played and I really like. And I thought they did a great job adapting. They kind of grabbed like the story from like three different games and kind of put them all together. And I thought it worked really well. I thought the story was interesting and engaging. Again, the way they're doing the time travel is different because this takes place so far in the past. It's rare that you get like one of those where it's all set in the past and it's a time travel movie, like way in the past. So this one is about this dagger, this magical dagger, that as long as it has sand in the handle, you can push a button on top of the handle and it takes you back, um, typically only a few seconds, back in time. So the characters utilize that in really interesting ways. And the
Yeah.
way they visualize it is really cool too. The character kind of like it's almost like the spirit of the character comes out of his body and can kind of watch what just happened and everything reverses and then he kind of goes back into his body. So it's a really cool visual. And the way they
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
the sand,
Right.
it kind of all looks like there's sand swirling around them and
Mm-hmm.
just really cool looking, different kind of way to visualize it. And it's another one of those that limits it. It's not like you can go as far back as you want or as far forward as you want. It's like, no, it only takes you back like a few seconds. And once the sand is out of the dagger, then
Mm.
you have to find new sand and put it in there. Um, so I like how they limit it in those ways. And it's a good
Yeah.
character dynamics. Jake Gyllenhaal, I like. I think he's very charming in the role. Gemma Arterton's great. Ben Kingsley, I think, is great in this as well. And there's several like double crosses and kind of throughout the movie, you don't really know who to trust. And it's all about like who wants the throne and that whole thing. And so it's a fun kind of engaging story. It's interesting. It has some really great action scenes. Alfred Molina's in it too as a great comic relief
Mm.
character,
Okay.
which is a lot of fun to see. So yeah, I'm a fan of this. I I don't know. I don't know why so many people hate it. I think it's a pretty solid adaptation of the game. Um, and it's one I've watched several times. So too bad it didn't get a sequel. I would have loved to have seen more, but they only made the one. So oh well.
Yeah. Gyllenhaal's great. I
Yeah.
own that film. I like it a
See?
lot. I think I've only
Yeah.
seen it once though. I bought it after
Oh
it came out
really?
and haven't watched it again.
Okay.
But need to watch that one again. I thought it was really
You
good.
should. Yeah, yeah. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. All right, Bert, go to your 17 now. What's there?
Okay. And for that one, I'm going to go with 13 going on 30.
It's on my list too. Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah. Here, here's the thing. If we were going by movie rating, this would be pretty much near the top because
Oh,
it's
really?
like 4.5 stars, maybe
Okay.
even more. I
Yeah.
I love the film.
Yeah.
It's just that it's again, we're kind of getting more to the territory where I'm going to be picking some films where the time travel is not the main emphasis,
Sure.
but it is the catalyst for the plot. I
Yep.
mean, we wouldn't have a plot, so it's kind of like the Terminator thing. Like
Right.
there's not all kinds of time travel going on, but you're
Yes.
dealing with
Yes.
the fallout from that time travel.
Yes.
And this is just sort of a perfect romantic comedy.
Hmm.
Gosh, the more I think about this, I probably would give it 5 stars. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
Jennifer Garner is just so cute in it, and
Yes.
I love how Mark Ruffalo plays sort of the underdog, the guy that
Yep.
doesn't get the girl, and I
Yes.
mean, it's just brilliant the way that this plays out. And then the fish out of water stuff with Jennifer Garner, she's hilarious. The way she has to deal with that stuff. Andy Serkis, great supporting role.
Right. Yep.
With the dancing, and we almost never get like a normal Andy Serkis. Like this is probably the guy that when he goes home after acting, that this is who he actually is, right?
Yes. Right.
Is the character that we get
Exactly.
in this movie. He's not like down on all fours or doing
Yeah.
something
Right.
with makeup or. So it's great to see him, and he's funny as well.
Yeah.
Just about a perfect romantic comedy. I
Yep.
didn't
I
even mention the
agree.
time travel stuff. Sorry.
No. Sure. Yeah.
Sorry. She
Yeah.
obviously wishes she was older, and then so she is, and then she comes back. So
Every kid
I
thinks
didn't think
about
about
that.
this, but right,
Yeah.
right. I totally spaced on this too. It's just like the movie Big, except the opposite, right?
Oh,
The
good
Tom Hanks
point.
film.
Yep.
Yeah. Which
Yep.
is also a brilliant film. I mean, that could easily be right where this one is. So
Sure. Sure.
yeah.
Good pick. Good pick. All right. Excellent. I'm going to move to my 18 now, and I'm going to go with Flight of the Navigator.
Oh.
Another film from 1986. I think that's the third film from 1986 on my list. I just realized that.
Hmm.
Um, but this is a fun one. This is an older Disney movie where this kid wakes up in the future,
Oh.
where he has a well. The movie starts. He's got this younger brother he's with, and then yeah, he wakes up and it's like I want to say it's 8 years that have passed. So his younger brother is now older than him. And his parents just thought he got lost one day and they couldn't find him. So he's kind of been a missing person for the past 8 years. And it all happens, the catalyst of it is this alien spaceship, the sentient alien spaceship that has done this. Voiced by none
Hmm.
other than Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman himself. And so we
Okay.
get a lot of fun shenanigans with the ship and
Hmm.
what he's doing with that and all that stuff. So it's fun. It's a fun kind of adventure, 80s adventure, sci-fi adventure movie. Has, hints of ET, I guess, in there kind of a little bit. But it's fun, it's funny. It's got some of the earliest examples of CGI in a
Oh.
movie. So yeah, this is well before, Jurassic Park or anything like that. And so some early days CGI in there. It's kind of fun to see. But yeah, really, really enjoyable movie, family friendly. It's a good one. I like it.
Nice.
All right, Bert. Now we're on to your 18. What do you have there?
Okay, before I give that, I have to say I meant to mention with 13 going on 30, there's another similar film called 17 again with
Oh,
Zac Efron.
yes,
And
yes.
it's very similar.
Uh-huh.
It's a very, very similar kind of film. It's almost the twin film, you could say.
I think
And that
so,
one's
yeah.
also really good,
Uh-huh.
but 13 going on 30 is a little better. So if we're
Yeah.
doing a top 30, I would have to eventually put 17 again in it because
Yes.
that one's probably a 4-star film as well. So just had to
Sure.
mention that one because that's a really
Okay.
good one.
Good, good.
Um, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a film that, again, the time travel isn't the major focus, and that is going to be X-Men Days of the Future Past.
Oh, okay. Sure, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's another one. I mean, the film is a 5-star film, but it's another one where the time travel, again, it's a key element. It's the catalyst
Right.
that basically takes over the entire plot. But there's not a lot of it that goes on. But
Sure.
again, because of the time travel, you got someone, in this case, Hugh Jackman, obviously, who's a big time fish out of water, and we get to see all
Yeah.
that play out, and it's tremendous. It's one of my
Right.
favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
And this method of time travel is someone doing something to your mind to make you
Yep.
go back through your. How does that work again? Not through
Yeah.
your own body.
Yeah, it's back
Is
into
it through
your old
through your
body.
own mind?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I can't really
yeah.
explain it, but
They don't really explain it that well. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
It's unique, but it's using the mutant powers of Kitty
yeah,
Pryde. She can
that's it.
phase through
Yeah.
walls, or she can phase through time. She can phase you through time, I guess. So she sends
Can you do
you
both at
your
the same time?
consciousness. I don't think she tries that in the movie. Yeah, she's sending your consciousness back into
Yeah,
your
yeah,
old body, and Wolverine's the only one that lives
yeah.
long enough for them to do that. So it's him.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 that's right. Yeah,
great,
and it's great action, great so much comedy
right,
with Wolverine playing off all these people that don't get why he's who he is, and
right.
yeah, it's just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, and I love seeing the old cast and the young cast together
Oh,
in
of
that film.
course.
Is cool
Yeah.
to see the future glimpses and then the past. And there's even that
Yeah.
scene with McAvoy and Stewart together as young and
Right.
old Professor X, which is really cool. So yeah,
So great. Yeah.
great
Yeah.
pick, great pick. Yeah, there's several. I forgot to say this. I didn't include any comic book movies because Future Past would be way up
Oh.
there, and even Avengers Endgame would be
Oh,
way up
sure.
there for
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
So I decided to
Right.
kind of put those aside for this one. But yeah, of course, Days of
Gotcha.
Future Past is fantastic. All right, I'm gonna go with for my number 19. Only two picks left. Hmm. I think I'm gonna have to go with Timeline. Timeline
Okay.
from
I didn't get to
2003.
rewatch this one.
Really? Yeah, I rewatched it
Yeah.
because I was kind of like my review, I think, was like, oh, this is like an average time travel movie, 3 stars. And I'm
Mm.
not that much higher on it. I'm probably more like 3.5 now, though. And I kind of
Okay.
like appreciate it a little more on this rewatch. It's directed by Richard Donner, who's one of my favorite
Hmm.
directors ever.
Yeah.
You got Paul Walker in there, hot off of Fast and Furious fame. You've got Gerard Butler, one of his earliest
Really?
roles.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, he's in there. He's a
Hmm.
pretty major character. It's a pretty big ensemble cast, but he's one of the major players there. And then Billy
Wow.
Connolly, who I just adore,
Hmm.
is in there too. David Thewlis, I like a lot. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a good mix of actors. They're all doing a great job. It's interesting because they're archaeologists, so they're kind of obsessed with history and uncovering all these things. And they uncover this document signed by Paul Walker's dad, Billy Connolly. And they're like, how can this be? This thing's, 500 years
Hmm.
old or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes missing. And so then they're like, okay, so what's going on? Did he go back in time? And they find this government agency where they've built this big time machine. And they're like, yeah, we don't know where he is. So we're going to send you back to find him. And so this group goes back. They get the appropriate, period clothing for medieval France, and they all go back. And so they have to
Oh,
deal with all the
yeah.
medieval Frenchmen and the battles that are going on. Michael Sheen's in
Okay.
there
Oh,
as a
huh.
bad guy too, the in the
Huh.
past. And it was fun. It was a fun watch. I really enjoyed
Okay.
it. Great action scenes, good acting, fairly well written. It's not,
Nice.
that's why it's not at the top of the list because it's not the best, but it's worth mentioning because I did enjoy it on this recent rewatch. And it's based on a Michael Crichton novel. I didn't know that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's a fun one.
Nice.
All right, Bert. Last two. You're on your 19 now. What do you have there?
I'm going with The Butterfly Effect.
This is one I didn't get to. I really wanted to watch this. I didn't get to watch it.
Oh,
I've never seen this one.
yeah. I won't give anything away. Just to say, and this isn't a giveaway. I think it happens in the first scene, maybe. But Ashton Kutcher plays a serious role here, and he's able to, when he starts writing down in a journal, he's able to travel through time. Although I didn't get a chance to rewatch. If I recall, it's not always to exactly where he wants to go.
Hmm.
But this is a movie that's borderline horror,
Hmm.
but more, I guess you could say more of a thriller, but it's quite horrific. Some of the things that the character goes through. And frankly, he's a little bit in some ways, some of the things that we see, it's a little bit horrifying.
Yeah.
Um, but he's trying to change the events of how he and his girlfriend and their lives turn out.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's a very, very, very serious tone. Let me just say
Yeah.
that.
Right. Right. Sure.
And Amy Smart is in it, Laura Waters from The
Hmm.
Office.
Oh,
And
okay.
this one has a tremendous twist ending that you would not
Hmm.
see coming too. So that's kind of an
Okay.
extra bonus.
Yeah.
And it's some people hate it. There is an alternate ending that doesn't have it. So it
Oh,
depends on which version you watch.
okay.
I'm sure you can find both on YouTube. Don't
Sure.
watch those first though.
Right.
But it's yeah, this is a really good one.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I skipped this one when I was going through accidentally. This
Oh,
probably would have been more like number 10 on my
oh, really?
list.
Okay.
At least it made the list. Yeah,
Yeah, it's in
yeah.
there. It's in there. Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's definitely one I'll try to seek out. Great. All right. Well, we're down to our final picks. This is tough. I've got a few here that I really like. I think I'm going to go with
It's
the
tough.
one that I think is maybe the most fun that I've probably watched the most out of all these I have left, and that is Men in Black 3 from
Okay, that's on my
2012.
list. Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah,
Oh
I,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a huge fan of that trilogy. The first one easily being the best, but this third one I thought they did a great job of, again, like Back to the Future 3, bringing it to a satisfying ending and kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
recontextualizing it in many ways. The relationship between
Hmm.
K and J
Yeah.
is really interesting here, what they did with it.
Yes,
And
it is. Yeah.
Tommy
Yeah.
Lee Jones is great. He's not in this one as much because Josh Brolin plays the younger Tommy Lee, and he just does a fantastic job. He nails it.
Yep. Yep.
The
It's
accent,
wonderful.
the demeanor, everything. I mean, it's just
The
spot on.
mannerisms. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. I was watching some behind the scenes on it this week, and it was cool how they, it's being the third film, it was like 10 years after the second one. So it had been a while. And so they
Oh,
updated everything, as far as the tech and the MIB headquarters and everything. They wanted to make it look very futuristic and different. And then they had to
oh,
redesign it for the
yeah.
60s, right? When he goes back. And so
Yeah. Right.
the production design is just really incredible. It really stands out in all those movies, but especially the third one. And yeah, they always have cool tech. They have those one-wheeled motorcycles they ride on, and all the gadgets. And I love the neuralizer in the past is like the size of a room. It's like this huge thing. In the future, it's this one little thing they use.
Yeah.
So
That's
doing that
funny.
kind of stuff is fun, and again, how they weave the story in with J and K and all of it. It just works really well. And they meet some fun historical figures like Andy Warhol, and all that stuff is kind of fun to see
Yeah.
too. So I'm a big fan. I think it's very funny. I think Jermaine Clement is also
Yeah.
one of the best villains in the franchise. I think he did a really good job in that role. Alice Eve is in there. Emma Thompson.
Hmm.
It's great. So it's a great cast, and yeah, a solid kind of um, bit of a more emotional way to end that franchise than I was
Yeah.
expecting.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
really good, really good. I really like that third one a lot. So yeah, that made the list. And at number 20,
Yeah. Yeah. And what
um,
you didn't say is two is terrible. Men
yeah,
in
two
Black
is
2 is terrible.
definitely the weakest. It's much like Back to the Future. For me, that franchise kind of like the first one's so
The
good, and
way
then the
it,
second one kind
yeah.
of dips, and
Yeah.
then yeah, the
Yeah.
second one definitely
Did you
is
see,
weakest.
yeah. Did you see the new one, International? I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not really good at
We're going like
all.
this.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just decided to end it there, I think, which was wise.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, exactly. Although Liam Neeson's in it. I mean, Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, it's got a great cast, but yeah, the fourth one did not work for me at all.
Ah,
All right,
gotcha.
Bert, your final pick, the final time travel film on this time travel podcast. What you going with?
Okay. It's going to be No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing
Oh,
Austin Powers. It's we could have.
yeah.
It's I actually I'm gonna go with Hot Tub Time Machine. So I'm gonna go
Okay.
with.
Okay.
Another rewatch that I liked it a lot better the second time. I
Okay.
think this is one of those, it's an R-rated comedy, so there's a lot of throwaway jokes, a lot of sexual
Sure.
jokes.
Right.
But I did find myself laughing at various jokes that were in it, and these four guys that go back and have to do things in the past that they really don't want to, and it's just funny how the characters are framed and what they have to deal with, and it's kind of hard to explain. But
Right.
have you seen this one?
No, I've not. I need to watch it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd like it,
Yeah.
but it did make me laugh quite a few times, and
Okay.
so I mean, I was at 3 stars on it, so
Okay.
we're kind of getting
Okay.
down there on these, but
Sure.
I
Sure.
enjoyed it. Yeah,
Good. Good. I do have a couple I want to mention that didn't make either of our
sure.
lists.
Okay.
Because I do enjoy these. One is The Time Traveler's Wife, which
Yeah,
I think
that's on my
is
list too. Yep.
pretty good.
Hmm.
Time
Yeah.
After Time from back in 1979. It's got
Oh.
Malcolm McDowell in it. It's based on
Oh.
a novel. It's about H.G. Wells, writer of The Time Machine, going
Hmm.
back, going or going into the future, chasing he's chasing Jack the Ripper. Jack the
Oh,
Ripper
really?
is in modern day San Francisco, and so H.G. Wells is trying
Oh,
to hunt him down. It's a really interesting, kind of odd
hmm,
premise, but it works really well.
yeah.
Um,
Huh.
the other one I like is The Final Countdown with Kirk Douglas and Michael Sheen from 1980. This is a modern
Oh,
day aircraft carrier, goes through this time portal in the ocean and comes out on Pearl Harbor right before the
oh,
Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
really?
And
Oh,
so they have to decide, are we going to stop this? Are we going to let it happen? Like, it's really interesting. So
oh,
that
that does
was
sound interesting.
close. Yeah, that was close to making my list too. Did you have any others you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple out there. Needle in a Time Stack, which is an odd
Okay.
title.
Yeah.
Another small budget one that
Mm,
it's kind of a sort of a heady film,
mm,
but I enjoyed it. I think it was 3 stars, but I watched it twice. It was pretty good.
okay.
Um, that's pretty much it. This is a film called Safety Not Guaranteed.
Oh, I
I,
like
I
that
thought that
one.
was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to rewatch,
Okay.
so those are a
Yeah.
couple. Yeah,
Cool. Cool. Excellent.
yeah.
Lego Movie 2 is actually another one that just came to mind.
Oh,
Lego
yeah. I
Movie
don't
2
even know
with a
if I've
time
seen that. Okay,
travel element in it, which is kind of cool. And some of them,
okay.
there were several that I thought about, like Arrival, one of my favorite movies we've talked about before. But it's not really time travel. She's
Yeah,
getting
the way it plays with time.
future
Yeah,
messages, like she's their language, you can know future events. So that one I kind
yeah.
of put to the side. There are a couple like that. Even Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny,
Oh,
my favorite
yeah.
film franchise of all time. But it's not really, there's one time travel scene at the very end, and it's not really all about the time travel. So again, I was like
Yeah.
trying to really focus in, like we said earlier, on ones that are all about traveling through time.
Ideally. Yeah, I mean, even Interstellar, which is a movie I like
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit. I
right,
mean,
right.
the way I mean, it's all about time, but
That's
time
true.
travel, I mean, that's not really what I'm thinking
Yeah.
about when I think time travel.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm on the same page. So cool. So yeah, there's plenty of other ones we could have mentioned, lots of other ones we could talk about. And so we want to know what your thoughts are. Leave a comment down below on your favorite time travel films. Maybe we picked some of yours, maybe we didn't. Maybe we neglected a few that we shouldn't have. Let us know in the comments how great or terrible our lists are. We want to know what your thoughts are on all of these. Make sure you follow us. Both Bert and I are on Letterboxd. So if you want to reviews for all of these movies and check out our lists on there, you can go there and follow us there. Those links are in the description below. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. As we mentioned earlier, Facebook page. We have a group on Facebook you can check out. You can join. Just ask, and I'll add you to the group. And so yeah, check us out on all the social media platforms. Bert, I know this was a long time coming, and we finally got there. Time
Yeah,
travel
it
list.
was it's about time, right?
It's
Pun
about
intended.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, it was past time. So
Yes.
yeah, we're glad we got to finally do this topic, one that we both enjoy. And time loop movies, who knows? In the future, hopefully we get to do those.
You gotta watch more of
Uh,
them because there are some really good ones.
yeah, I need to watch more. Yeah, I do. I do. I've seen several, and I like quite a few, but there's a few I've watched that I haven't cared for at all. So
Ah,
I
okay.
just need to find the right one. So maybe if you make a list for me on Letterboxd, I'll look at it.
I'll do
And,
that. I'll do
yeah,
that.
I can check those
It's already
out.
made actually, but I'll do
Oh,
that.
is it
Yeah.
already? Okay, cool.
I'll send it to
You've already
you.
gone into the future and made it. Come back.
I gotta remind myself
Um,
to do it.
right, exactly.
Don't forget.
Right. Well, thank you all again for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're getting closer and closer to 600 subscribers, so hopefully we can be there by the end of the year. That's our hope. We're going to be watching all kinds of new movies in theaters. There's some big movies coming out soon, so we'll be watching those. We'll give you our reactions to those as we typically do. Bert, thanks again, man. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did.
I did. Till next time.
That's right. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos. And we will see you next time right here on The Real World.